Greatest intro song ever. Hello, welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack, and this is the latest episode of the United Community Podcast. And we've got something a little bit different tonight. We're all sick of transfer talk. We're all sick of those nonsense rumors. United are signing everyone and their grandmother. So we decided to kind of venture a little bit away from that tonight. And we're going to do our ideal 11 for the start of the Premier League season. What we think Manchester United's best starting 11 could be. We've set ourselves a very unrealistic goal of 250 million euro. And just to obviously clarify a few things, Cunha is already signed. So his 60 million doesn't come off the 250. So we've got 250 on top of Cunha. So United have won the World Cup, they've won the World Club Cup, they've won the European Championship, and now we've got a shitload of money.
We have no debt. We have no debt. We have
no debt. Exactly. So we're going to get into it. But before we do that, guys, do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I want to hear your comments as well and your thoughts in the live chat. And if you're listening back to this later, let me know in the comment section below. But we're going to jump into it. We're going to give our new signings, where they go, and then at the end we'll try and maybe do a combined 11 if we're not arguing too much between now and then.
This is the UCC bot Manchester United right here.
Exactly. But look, we're kicking off, and Ben, I'm going to give you the first dibs on it, and you know you can lay all the pressure on top of us. So first and foremost, out of the 250 million, have you spent it all?
No.
How much have you left?
I've gone quite safe. I've done it. I've got quite a lot of our players that are there now. I've got 150 million left, believe it or not, so I can go off on holiday somewhere.
150 million you've got left, right?
Yep.
Very interesting, right? Chris is taking notes there. Look, he's fucking scrolling like mad.
We all know who one is. Who do you spend 60 million on is the $1 million question.
Right.
I've tried to do it sensible. So
okay. How many players have you signed?
3.
Right. Off you go.
Chris. Goalkeeper. This will get you going straight away. Martinez.
All right. Okay. Martinez is in. How much?
He's 20 on it.
He's 20. All right. Okay.
20.
Right. Let me get the tier. So this is what I would say Manchester United's current best squad is, and that is with Mbeumo signed and Cunha signed. Okay, so we'll put in Ben's team. So Onana is out, and we're putting in Martinez. Right, who have you got next then, Ben? Or like go through that team then, you know, and let me know what or who else you're bringing into.
Yeah, I've got Yoro, I've got Delay. I would have Martinez, but he ain't going to be fit, so I've gone with Mazraoui. Just for the fact of the season he had last season, I think he deserves a shot in the team still.
Okay. Off you go.
I've got Ugarte playing as the CDM.
Yeah.
I've got Ahmad at right wing back.
Yeah.
Then I've got Dorgo at left wing back.
Yeah.
And that's a fact of because he was signing for Amron, so he's second season. You always give him a second chance, don't you?
Yeah.
I've got Bruno playing just behind Mbeumo and Cunha.
Yeah.
And then I've got Gyökeres up front.
Gyökeres up front. Okay. Now, I need to ask, with the obviously, you know, we set ourselves a goal of 250 million. What was your thinking around not spending it all or not, you know, bringing in somebody else in different areas?
Just for the fact of these players that we've got that we're going to get rid of, we need to make a bench strong as well.
All right.
So, do you know the players that are out there? I can't see a back 3 that we've got there. Is anybody unhappy with it? I can't see anybody being unhappy with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. Yeah. And of course, you know, we're only talking about the starting 11 here. So when we're talking about, you know, depth in the squad, that's a different story for. Okay, so Martinez in goal, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Yoro, Ahmad, Dorgu, Bruno, Ugarte, Cunha, and Mbeumo, and Gyökeres. To be honest with you, it ain't a bad team. Can
I just jump in there, Jack, and ask the question?
Yes.
Is Mbeumo signed? Because if that's the case, you spent more than your money there.
No, that's what I mean. I've got And Bruno was 55, didn't he?
I mean, somebody came into a group chat there earlier and threw us all under the bus by saying he had signed and threw all our budgets out the door. So are we going to let Mbeumo be signed, or are we going to?
Well, I thought we were including his transfer fee in this.
Well, we were including Cunha's, but someone said earlier that Mbeumo had signed, and we were all delighted. But now apparently it's not a done deal. So are we going to leave the 55?
He hasn't gotten a here we go yet, but they say it's a done deal. It's just
Whoa. We've got a text from someone in the group that says it's just gone. Here we go. I mean, we have receipts, Chris.
We have if we had got a here we go on Mbeumo, we wouldn't be doing the podcast about this now. We would be doing it about Mbeumo.
Just Chris was sabotaging everyone's team by saying he signed.
Well, that's something I can't believe, of course. No, so I'd say Mbeumo's price tag comes off the 250. Cunha's doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So look, I mean, that ain't a bad team. That really isn't a bad team. And yeah, absolutely. And you've got 150 million there, Ben, to, I don't know, redo up Carrington or let the Glazers buy a new helicopter or whatever the case may be. I think, but absolutely, that ain't a bad team. Right. Okay. Let's go to Chris. I'll go to you next. And look, we've obviously got Ben's team there, and we'll put it back up onto the screen. Give me first and foremost, how much money did you spend out of 250?
233.
All right, very specific. Okay. And we are, by the way, going off of Transfer Market website and the prices that they've got on their website. So you can check them up. You know, we're not lying to you or anything like that. Right, Chris, off you go. Start from the back.
So I went, Emi Martinez and I went and bought Jan Oblak,
okay.
And I went, he's the same price as Martinez. I mean, but I can't, I to be honest with you, I struggle between the two.
Okay.
But I went with someone just new, Oblak. He's solid as they can get.
20 million, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
20 million. And, I went with Inacio from Sporting instead of Mazraoui. Only because, I like Martinez there, but like Ben alluded to, Martinez is not healthy right at the moment. So I went with Inacio there. And then, I'm not saying that he's going to be in the team, but I went ahead because of the price. Richard Rios, the kid from Palmeiras that we've been linked to. Transfer Market has him at 16 million, and he's like Ugarte. He's a destroyer.
So who are you taking out, Chris?
I'm not taking anybody out. He would go on the bench. He'd be another midfielder that we would get to be able to put in and everything like that. So I think we do need depth there. That's why I spent the money on that. And then Mbeumo, of course, and then I got Yorkeres up front. I have Dorgu there. The only other guy that in my head that I wanted to buy, but if you buy him, you can't take Ignacio is Baleba from Brighton. And I think if we bought Baleba at 40 million, then he'd be better than Ugarte in there. But I like Ugarte. I've always liked him, but I went with spending a little bit of money so that way we would have some depth. And then I also bought Roger Fernandez, he's a backup to Ahmad. Because I not necessarily bought players that immediately go in, but I wanted to buy the players that we need at that point. Because besides Ahmad, you need the player. You need someone else besides him. So, and Roger Fernandez he's top. They say he's right there behind Kenda that we missed out on to Chelsea. So he's from Braga. So, that's who I went with at that point. But I like our. I'll be honest. Like I like most of our team. I just think that Ugarte needs. Ugarte didn't have a preseason last year. Bought him at the end of the window. And Ten Hag didn't play him a lot in the beginning of the season. Amarin started playing him a lot more. I think he can do what we need to do next to Bruno. He can break up the passes, break up the midfield. Give the ball to Bruno. Bruno's going to be our progressive midfielder there to get the ball to Embuemo and Cunha. And I mean, the biggest money to spend is we have to have a striker number 9 in Yorkeres at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone is going to be. But in comparison to your team there now to Ben's, there's only 2 changes to what Ben has done, and that's obviously Oblak and Inacio in terms of the starting 11, which is good as well. Right, okay. Right, Oshin, over to you.
Okay, so
sorry, go on. How much did you spend?
220 million is what I spent.
Okay, all right. And how many players did you sign?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Okay, interesting. Right, take us through it, back to front.
Well, look, one of those 5 is Embuemo. So, I mean, you can call it 4. You know?
Yeah.
So I had some red line items that weren't going to change. That was a new keeper and a new striker. We need those 2. And I think, I mean, there's no point getting a striker up front who's going to bang goals in if you have Onana at the other end of them in just for fun, just as easy, you know. Like Chris, I went with Oblak. I think he would be a great signing for us. He's 32. Now, I didn't follow any of Ineos's rules of under 25 and whatever else.
Yeah.
Who I wanted is who I put in there. And I didn't go with injuries. I just assumed everyone was fit and just wanted to get the best 11 we could put out the pitch.
Yeah.
So Oblak, I think he's a stronger presence than Onana. I think Martinez is a height merchant. I think we're getting caught up with the aura he gives out. I think Oblak is a better keeper. He won't be suspended for the first 3 games of the season if you do go out and sign him. And just for the same amount of money as Martinez, Oblak was just a no-brainer for me. He's a calm, reliable presence back there. He'll inspire the front 3 in front of him, and that would be it. You'll also be glad to know I didn't change Amorim's formation. I didn't go 4-4-2. I kept it as it was. So I went with De Ligt, Martinez, and like Chris, Inacio. Now Inacio is the only player I'm bringing in from Sporting because I think he knows Amorim's play, and he will be Amorim's linchpin on that pitch.
So you said Martinez there, so Yoro's on the bench.
Yoro's on the bench. I think Yoro will eventually come in, but I think at 19 years of age, he still has a bit to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, he is going to be our Rolls-Royce defender. He is going to be the person to lead the back line, but not quite there yet. Inacio is 4 years older than him, but he just has that experience. He's got European Cup experience, and I just think he'll lead that line. So I have Inacio in the middle with De Ligt and Martinez either side of him, is what my back 3 looks like.
Right, okay.
My midfield is Ahmad, Bruno, Paulinho from Bayern Munich, and Dorgu. I just think Paulinho would bring a bit more bite than Ugarte. I think he's got that Premier League experience. I think he'd slot straight in there without any issue whatsoever. Ugarte, like I said, he still hasn't quite hit the ground running. There, he had a few good games. I think Paulinho will come in there and just be that presence there that we need. Embuemo and Cunha. I mean, Embuemo's more or less done. If you read all the reports, 95% done. Cunha was done anyway. And I've gone with Oshin up front because I remember when we did our first post-season podcast, and there was rumors of a swap deal going through for Højlund and Oshin. And I just think Embuemo, Cunha, and Oshin would give us more than Embuemo, Cunha, and Gyökeres. I think there's more options there with Oshin. I think he'll bully defenders more than Gyökeres will. His runs, he's much quicker than Gyökeres. I just think he'll give us more up there. Okay, now this is all fantasy land. We're not paying 350 a week. But, you know, this is ideal world stuff, like, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have 250 million to spend, so I think we started it off pretty fantasyful. That's a good team. Yeah. Some interesting picks there as well. Martinez, Inacio, De Ligt. I like that back 3. Paulinho there. I like the Premier League experience. Like if you're talking about, a midfield 4, there's a lot of Premier League experience in them 4, really, isn't there? You know, and you're talking about the heart of your team. Yeah, and Osman is an interesting pick. In fairness, you know, obviously, Gyökeres is the hot topic at the moment. But I like it. Right, my turn. So, I'm not a massive amount different. I'm probably more different to Oshin than I am the 2 boys. But I spent 215 million. And I think it's 215 anyway. And I brought in 4 players. So I went with Costa in the goal. Diogo Costa, 40 million. I think if you're going out to get a goalkeeper, I think he's the best. I can't look past him, to be honest with you. All round European experience, even though we're not in Europe, but I love him, and there's a reason why City want to replace Ederson with him. You know what I mean? So it's that for me. Back three, I went with De Ligt, I went with Euro, and I also went with Inacio. I have Inacio in there for 45 as well. The midfield four, I just left Ugarte there. So 4 players that are already there: Dorgo, Bruno, Ugarte, and Ahmad. The 2 boys up front then as well. And then I had, you know who I had? Jacques. So they were my 4. And I mean, I don't know about you, but that team there, I think, could win the league.
That's going to be
good. We'd compete.
No, I'm only messing. I do think there are still areas we could improve. I think that the wing back positions need to improve, depending on how Ahmad gets on. I think Dorgu obviously is nowhere near the finished article yet. And I think the back line, I mean, Costa coming in and Inacio coming in alongside, if De Ligt stays fit and Euro continues to improve the way he's improving over the last 12 months, I think that's a serious team. I really do. So, will we try and put a combined 11 together, or what's your thoughts?
I just wonder. I mean, for me, all 4 of us have gone with the 2 wing backs that we have there. But for me, they're the weakest link in all of our teams because of the inexperience that's there.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any other options there? I had Estupiñán in as left wing back for a while there out of Brighton. I had Mazraoui on the right as well for a bit. I thought they'd complement one another. I
had Miguel Gutierrez from Girona, who's a good right wing back, or actually left wing or left back instead of Dorgu, and he's only 20 million because he fires down the wing and everything like that. And for Girona, I mean, he's top notch at that point. And a lot of people were talking about him for a while and everything like that. So I mean, and I agree. I think our wing backs are. I think Dorgu has a lot to prove. I think Ahmad is fine. It's just that the problem is behind Ahmad. If something happens, where do you go from there? Because I think our team takes a massive step back. If something happens to Ahmad, then whether it be a yellow suspension, yellow card, something happens, injury. Now you're back to put Mazraoui or Dalot or something, and then then we become very defensive again.
Yeah, I think that is a good point, and I think it's probably over the next season or 2, we're going to have to try and bite our luck with injuries and suspensions and stuff like that until we can get a bit of depth into the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I went out. I went out and spent on some players that not necessarily would get into the first team, but would supply depth, like your Roger Fernandez that plays out wide, that plays right wing back, your Richard Rios's, that are both younger, but have some experience and everything like that, can slot in if we do have injuries. And then you're not going back to the same old United with Casemiro or this or that. You have some depth in players there. Now, I forget who just put it up. I talked about Baleba from Brighton. Everybody's talking about him, but Transfer Market has him for 40 million. Brighton's not selling him for 40 million. So that's
and I think
that's why I kind of let that one go, because I looked at the money and I went, "Oh, that'd be great," but that's just not.
I think looking at this team, the more I look at it on paper, and I can understand why we prioritize the number 10 position so quickly in the transfer market. I mean, you look at what it frees up more than, and I know I mentioned this already. The 2 main ones are Bruno and Ahmad. So I'm almost convinced Ahmad is going to play the majority of this season at wing back. I really do. With Mbeumo and Cunha coming in. Now, obviously, there's going to be times where, there's going to be rotation and rest, and Ahmad will probably play in the 10. But dropping Bruno back into that 6 as well, where we know he's more effective. He likes to take the ball off, and you need somebody to take the ball off the back 4 and progress it up the field. I think Bruno's probably the best player. But the one thing I want to ask you, I'll ask Oshin, I'll ask you, Bruno doing that number 6 role, do we have to kind of if he's going to do it to such a level and such maybe a strict set role, do we have as fans to understand that he's probably not going to chip in with as many assists and goals as maybe we're used to when he's further up the field?
I don't think it'll be expected anymore with Mbeumo and Cunha there. I think that's what they're bought in. Look, I said last week I didn't think Bruno's world class. I still stand by that comment. I think he was our best player last year. I think he's going to be a club great. He won't be a club legend. Did anybody else flirt with taking Bruno out of the team? I know I certainly did. I had Danny Olmos in there for a while until I just couldn't make the figures work. With who else I wanted to get put in there. So I mean, Bruno wasn't even guaranteed to stay in my 11. I think Bruno's going to struggle next year in the set role he's going to have. I mean, Bruno likes to play as the floater, likes to move around. I think he's going to find it hard next year. I really do. And Chris, I find it's really strange. You couldn't follow the instructions. It was 1 to 11. You're bringing in subs in the whole lot. That's unbelievable.
I knew that as soon as Chris started mentioning squad players.
I don't like to play by the rules, but my problem is 1 to 11. I mean, I like our team, I really do, and I think that Bruno, you say he's going to struggle, but I think he's going to be more efficient because I think he's going to be able to move the ball and progress the ball in ways that it's going to be kind of Scholes-esque, where he's not going to turn into Paul Scholes or anything like that. But like Thierry Henry talked about it. Like, what was the one thing when you played United back in the day? What did you have to do? You had to stop Paul Scholes. I think that with Bruno having a lot of weight lifted off his shoulders, I think he can start. I think you're going to see that he can start plays. He does it for Portugal. He starts plays from deeper. He plays that way, and I know, he has all these other players and everything like that. Yes, but at the same time, if he's still making the same passes and you have two guys in front of him, in Cunha and Mbeumo, that you can trust that are competent number 10s that can take people on and can make the correct runs, I think you're going to see some of the best out of Bruno. Now, does that translate into a stat line? The goals, the assists? No, but I think you're not going to talk. Should have sold Bruno. You're not going to. I mean,
I don't think he's wrong.
If we're doing buy and sell, the team would be vastly different at that point. But I just think you're going to see
That's next week, Chris.
But I think you're going to see a lot more out of Bruno that you don't get to see now because Bruno had to play the 6 and the 10 this year. I mean, he had to do both. He had to, he almost had to pass to himself a lot of times because we just didn't have the people up there and everything. And I think you're going to find, I truly think this. I think with Cunha and Mbeumo up there, you may see Bruno dart through, make a late run, and he may get more goals than you think because you're going to forget that he's back there. And then the next thing you know, he's going to come through and he's going to be at the top of the box, or he's going to do that because he's that type of player. He's intelligent enough to make a late run in and capitalize. And I just think with those top three, whether you put Oshin or Gyökeres, or even if you had Liam Delap up there, there's enough goals up there that that he can stay more central and move the ball. And I think that's what you're going to – and I think Amarim's going to make him do that, to be honest with you. He's not like – he's going to – Amarim's not going to let him just freelance and run all over the place. So,
but, Chris, I mean, one of our biggest complaints last year was Bruno go missing in games. You just said it there. You forget he's back there. We forgot he was back there in a lot of games this season.
No, but because you forgot he went missing in games because he has to do so much. You expect him to be up in the box.
I disagree. He was missing in games because he's not able to carry the team like we all think he does.
Yeah,
he's not the talisman that we're all saying he is.
But Oshin, you want him to carry the team from what position? You want to carry the team from the 10, or you want him to carry the team from the 6? Or do you want to carry the team from the 8?
I think his best position is the 6, but Bruno thinks his best position is the 10. And that's where he stays. That's why he always stays out, and he goes missing in games because he goes out to the wing. So I think 6 is his best position, but I don't think we're going to see the best of Bruno there.
I disagree because I think we will, because now you have with Mbeumo and Cunha, you have 2 10s there. And who were the 10s before? Mount, Garnacho. Like, could you rely on any of those guys? We all know you couldn't rely on those guys. So now you have those guys, and he doesn't go missing in games against Portugal because he relies on those guys in the 10s, and he relies on the striker. And then when he plays the ball in, I think that the mindset is different now because now you have those guys that, hey, I don't have to score. I don't have to score now either. I can make the right pass, the progressive pass, and maybe it's not in the stat line, but we're all going to be able to see, like, guess who started that play? Bruno did from back here, and he made that play. And I think that's what you're going to see. I mean, again, it's all wishful thinking. We all know that. But it's like I think that Bruno's never – if you look at that squad right there, if you have Gyökeres, Cunha, and Bueno, name the time that he's had that in front of him to play with. Never.
He hasn't. He hasn't. And he still mightn't.
Well, we get that, but I'm just saying, when you have competent players, you look at any other team, you look at the Liverpools and stuff like that, the McAllisters, the Soboslais, because you have the Luis Diaz's up front, you have the Salahs over there, so you don't have to. You can stay central. I mean, no one thought McAllister was going to be as good as he is because he's playing a different position for Liverpool than he did for Brighton.
I disagree. I think McAllister was clear he was going to be a class player. I think but look, as a United fan, I hope you're right. I genuinely do.
Let me ask a question.
My heart is saying yes, but my head is saying, I don't know.
But where did McAllister play for Brighton when he played there?
He was number 10.
Okay, where's he play for Liverpool? He's
number 6. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was clear
McAllister
was going to succeed wherever he went, in whatever position.
So I guess the question is, so you think McAllister's better than Bruno?
Yeah, I do. Genuinely, I do.
Wow.
I do. I mean, yeah, okay, clip that up. Yeah, no problem. I said last week, Bruno's not world class. I don't think he is. I don't think Bruno gets into Liverpool ahead of McAllister. I don't.
Why? What does McAllister do that Bruno can't?
I just think that McAllister, he doesn't try to do all himself, which is what Bruno does.
And why is that?
Look, because he's got the players around. But we're not talking about. We're talking about Bruno getting in there. I don't think Bruno would get in there anyway. I don't think Bruno gets into City. I don't think Bruno gets in. I don't think Bruno is this world class player we're making him out to be. I don't. Okay. Hilarious as that might sound to some of the people watching, I don't see it.
Okay. I mean, we'll battle on that one because I don't think there's anything that McAllister does that Bruno can't do. Because you put him in the same boat. McAllister was a 10 for Brighton, had to do a lot more, and then he went, and a lot of people question, oh, well, he's not going to play the 10 for Liverpool. He goes to Liverpool, learns how to play the 6. And let's be honest, does he disappear sometimes? Yes, he has. Every player does. So let's put that caveat on there. But at the same time, he's surrounded by good players, so he doesn't have to do as much all the time. And I think you're clouded by the fact that we've had to depend on Bruno for so long that now when we don't have to depend on Bruno, that he's going to be able to make these world-class passes that he can make. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, and I'll be honest, the next question is going to come out. Where's this player been all this time? That's what the question is going to be asked. Well, why couldn't he do this before? And it's because he didn't have the other players around him.
I mean, we'll see. We will see. But as I said,
let me separate the two of you there. Let me just separate the two of you there.
I do hope you're right, Chris, as a United fan, because I want the best United, but I'm just not seeing it.
I get it. It's hard.
Ben, what's your thoughts on Bruno?
He's got to be in the team, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Let's put Oshin down the bottom there. No, look, I understand what you're saying, Oshin, and I have had criticisms with Bruno before, and it's always been the same criticism, is the lack of structure in his game. Where is he really able to play a specific system? Can he be Can he be? Oh, what's the word? I mean, can he be calm enough not to want to be at right wing and left back at the same time? And I think that's Ruben Amram's biggest challenge with him. But let's get it clear here. In my eyes, anyway, Bruno Fernandes is the only world-class player we have had in the last decade. In my eyes, I just think the figures he puts up, he's never injured. He's always available. Goals, assists, work rate, off the field as well. He does the right things. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of him. I am a big fan of him. And I think if we lost Bruno Fernandes, or if we did decide to sell him, granted, it would have been for a lot of money to Saudi Arabia. But I think you wouldn't replace Bruno for the same kind of money. I think you would have to go for 2 or 3 players to try and replace him.
But just that there, Chris, Jack, if he was world class, why aren't all these other clubs coming in for him? Why aren't Barca, Real coming in? Now that United are at a low ebb and he's 31 years of age and will want to go win stuff, why aren't all these big European teams coming in for him? Why is Saudi the only option he has?
I think
because they won't pay the transfer fee for a 31-year-old. That United would look for him.
I think the transfer fee is the biggest part of it, and the transfer fee number one, because Barcelona can't spend 100 million.
Well, he's never once been linked with a big move away from United.
But he's never once wanted to leave either.
What I'm just saying is, if he was that good a player, why aren't all these other Real Madrids, Barcelonas, Bayern Munichs, why aren't they coming and testing your results?
You could say the same about Paul Scholes throughout his entire career.
Barcelona did want to come in for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
people did want for him.
Yes, but they never did. I'm sure every club in Europe would want to sign Bruno Fernandes, but that doesn't mean that they're going to come in for him.
There were whispers this summer about Bayern coming in for Bruno, and before he signed his other contract, there's rumors about Real Madrid coming in, but the price tag's too high. They can't afford it. I mean, you look at what Real Madrid, with the way that they do their transfers anymore, is you wait, and then they just get you on a free because they can afford. That's how they do it. And Barcelona's in such shambles that, I don't even know, this whole Nico Williams thing. I don't even know how they're going to afford.
They look like Athletic Bilbao have gone to UEFA over them.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand. Even though his release clause is only 53 million, from what I read, is Barca's in such trouble that they can't even afford that, and that's why they're talking about they want Rashford on loan, and that's why you look at Rashford and you go, what is wrong with you? What's in your head that you think you can go to Barcelona, number one, and play? Because I don't think he'll play. He's going to sit the bench, and number two, they can't afford anybody. So you want to go there and not take a pay cut? They can't afford the people that they have now. So, I mean, that's why in my head, I'm like, why is Rashford, him and his camp that blind to the real world that, he wants to be a part of the World Cup squad in England or have an opportunity to be selected. But yet you're going to go to Barcelona. Tell me where he's going to start over any of those guys.
Well, you see, this whole connection with Nico Williams and Barca moving for him. And then all of a sudden, Marcus Rashford shows up on a Barcelona fan page, wasn't it? Talking about how, he'd love to play as a number 9 and stuff. I mean, he is so desperate to go and play for Barcelona. But, I mean, it seems like that guy chasing that same one for a long, long time and she has no interest in him. You know what I mean? And she ends up with someone else and he still wants her. That's what it looks like to me. She ends up with the friend, exactly. And he's the nice guy, but she ends up with the fucking prick. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I just don't. I mean, at least when you've heard about the outgoings that we've had, Anthony's at least smart enough to say, "Hey, I'm going to take a pay cut because I want to go play." I've even heard that, and we all hate him, but dislike him. Is Jadon Sancho said he was willing?
Oh no, we hate him. Oh no, we hate him.
But I can at least. I've heard that he was willing to take a pay cut when they were talking about Napoli and Juve. That he would
not in the reports I've read. Not in the reports I've read. He's not dropping.
No. I mean, I done a TikTok on it today. But Napoli and Juventus supposedly have pulled out of the deal because he's unwilling to lower his wages.
Well, it was only a loan though, anyway, wasn't it? It was a 25 million loan deal. It wasn't permanent because he's only got 1 season left. So they don't want to buy him outright. They want to buy him on loan. Take him on loan.
Well, they were talking about a swap deal for Douglas Luiz from.
But they want United to pay. Is it between 50 and 75% of his wages if he does go there?
Yeah. But they would give Man United 25 million as a loan fee.
As a loan fee.
Yeah. So at that point,
you'd lose half of that straight away by paying his wages anyway. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really make sense. Right, let's move on a little bit before we finish up. We've got maybe about 7 or 8 minutes.
Did we pick our team, by the way?
Oh fuck, did we? Jesus Christ! Hold on, let's have a look here real quick. You just wouldn't shut up arguing about Bruno Fernandes. What are we doing here? Share screen window. There we go. Right. Okay. Real quick. So, in goal, Costa or Oblak or Martinez?
Martinez.
I'm ruling out Martinez.
I just think majority has to rule, really, doesn't it? If he's been in more than 2 teams, he's got to go in as the default, doesn't he?
Yeah, but did either of you did you forget about Costa? Do you not realize how good he is?
Not at the price tag.
No, I mean,
when I was picking my team now, I'm going like realistic. Would he come to us?
You just thought Aston Villa was closer.
None of this is fucking realistic. Right, all black is in. Right. I think the back three, we all had Inacio, I think, did we? Or no, Ben, you didn't.
I didn't, but I'm happy with him being in.
Yeah. So I think we're all set on De Ligt, Inacio, and Yaro, I think. I think the only one was Martinez, other than that, wasn't it? And that's probably a flip with mine. We all had both wing backs. Yeah. I think the majority of us had Bruno and Ugarte, bar Palhinha, I think, was it?
I Palhinha.
Right. So that's that. And then we all had Gyökeres, bar Osimhen.
Me. Yeah. I was off as usual.
What is the transfer market on Osimhen, by the way? I didn't even look that up, to be honest.
70. He was 5 cheaper than Gyökeres.
Wow.
Right, this will all come in handy now when we're picking our fantasy teams in another couple of weeks for the start of the Premier League, having to balance the books. But yeah, there we go. That's our combined 11. Oblak, Inacio, De Ligt, Yaro, Amad, Dorgu, Bruno, Ugarte, Cunha, Mbeumo, Gyökeres. Let me ask you then, and Annie, you can jump in here. How many more signings to go into this team do we need before we challenge or potentially win a league title?
At least one more wing back for me. And maybe
I'd say both wing backs, to be honest.
And maybe backup 10s, because if we're getting rid of Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, and Anthony, we're goose there. So at least one more 10, maybe.
Yeah, but we have decent amount.
Yeah.
Okay, if we get rid of Mount, Anthony,
we got Kobe Manu as well. Kobe Manu.
That's true. Yeah.
Xerxes.
But I mean, you'd still want one more.
Yeah, I get you. I think probably one more number 6. I would say more so maybe than a 10, given what we've got already.
I think we need 4. We need another 6, as Ben alluded to. 2 other wing backs, one on each
9
side
as well. We have no striker.
Yeah.
Would you be happy with Højlund as backup?
We still need a number 9 because we have no striker.
Even
with Højlund as backup.
Hey, we've got Cheeto Obi.
At 17.
17 years of age. I don't know.
Yeah. I think 5. I think you still need 5 because you need some ancillary pieces.
Right.
Well, I think you need cover for the wing backs. Now, this is saying if you want to stay true to form and play the same way, if you can swap guys out and play the same way each week, I think you need 5 because you need another number 6. You need 2 more wing backs.
This is how it's going to work, right? Oblak to Inacio. Inacio plays Bruno. And Mbeumo pulls off. Ball's laid in over the top. Oh, and the Gyökeres. Oh, Bosh. 1-0. That's how it's going to go all season. Telling you, lads. Telling you.
I think 5 more players. I mean, honestly, there's.
I know, yeah. Look, and you're right. I mean, we're nowhere near the finished article, even with. But I think like we mentioned there, with the 2 number 10s coming in, if we could reinforce that with a Gyökeres, maybe another centre back or a centre midfielder, maybe in the 6. Yeah, I think we're well on track to start maybe challenging for
I mean, I was with Oshin about Paulinho, but then I had heard today that was a bunch of crap, that Bayern's going to keep him and that they're not going to loan him out for that price or anything like that. So that's the only reason why I had him written down. I just, after I heard that, there was no truth to it. I was like, okay, well, they're not.
Well, Chris, let me ask you then, because look, there's been a lot of rumors over the last few days and weeks about Gyökeres, and obviously, we heard initial reports suggest, that he wanted to hear what Arsenal were offering first before he made his decision. It looked like Arsenal was going to be his favorite destination, but we're getting reports out now. Look, they're not from major outlets or anything, but there's a few outlets saying the same thing, that Gyökeres has reopened the door and could potentially want to sign for Manchester United. And I've heard a lot of people saying online that, oh, fuck him, and he wanted Arsenal and this, that, and the other. And I think it was his representatives probably dropping the ball a little bit here, and maybe trying to maneuver to Arsenal when you just kind of make yourself look like an idiot. But what's your thoughts on the whole situation, potentially getting him and what's gone on?
I mean, I got to be honest, and if you want to play he doesn't want us, he wanted Arsenal first. Well, let's be honest, we didn't want him first. We wanted the lap first, and we missed it. So therefore, if we would have signed the lap, I'm like, so don't give me this. Well, he didn't want to come to us first. Well, we didn't go to him first. Let's be honest. So that washes itself out. So I think he's class. I mean, and I got to be honest with Oshin too. Like, I think Oshin is class too. My problem with him is that, I mean, of course, the wages are the biggest thing and everything like that. And from what I've read is the wage structure that he wants. He doesn't want to take a pay cut if we're not in Europe. He wants to earn what he wants to earn no matter what. And once you start opening up that door, then nobody wants to take a pay cut, and that's going to destroy the wage structure even worse than what we have now. So I like Gyökeres. I like both of them. I would take him if he even said, "Hey, come on, we'll figure out the money. Let's just come." I mean, I think he can be class for us. And I can't. And Oshin, I think Osman will be class for us too. But it's just a matter of, we need somebody that can score goals. That's proven that can score goals.
Well, Oshin, you put Osman into your starting 11 for next season. Is there a specific reasoning? Obviously, you mentioned he's big, he's strong. Not that you'd be disappointed with if we got Gyökeres, surely.
No. Not at all. I mean, I think it's a case of both Arsenal and Gyökeres are using one another to get. I think Arsenal wanted to put a shitters up Sesko to get Sesko to sign for them, and Gyökeres' team wanted to get the price up more to kind of get a bidding war going, or try and pretend there was a bidding war going, which would have suited Sporting because of what they're looking to do now. Look, either or was a flip of a coin. I just had a look at the front three and said, who would bully defenders more in the Premier League? Considering they're both not Premier League proven, who would come in and start throwing his weight around? And I think Oshin would do that more than Gyökeres. And we know the Premier League is a more physical league than the Portuguese league, and maybe not the Italian league, but maybe more physical than the Portuguese league. Would he be able to take the hammering he's going to get from Ben Mee and Nathan Collins and this kind of stuff? We're going to push him around. Oshin could take that more than Gyökeres. I would think, looking at what I've seen in the Champions League, is what I would have thought.
Yeah. Ben, what's your thoughts on it?
I think he'll just come to us, to be honest, as daft as it sounds. Like you say, I think Arsenal's just playing games, like you say. And let's be honest, if he's going to move to England, is he going to want to go to a team that he don't know nobody? Or is he going to come to Man U where he knows a manager and he'll know exactly what he wants from him?
I've said it, lads. I think, was it as far back as March? I was saying there was just something about the Gyökeres to Manchester United that felt right to me. I don't know whether it was, I can just picture him in a Man United jersey. I think it would work. I think he's the profile of striker that United have always done well with. You know what I mean? That true number 9. And I think the last time we probably had that was, it was probably Cavani, I suppose. And he just got treated terribly. And I still look at Cavani now in the Boca games when he's wearing the Boca and he's got the fucking hairband on. And if there was anyone that looked like a footballer, it was him, And I don't know. I think Gyökeres has that same feel to me. But finally, lads, before we go, what's your overall thoughts on the transfer window so far? There's a lot of people, we've only technically signed one player and this and that and the other. And I'm kind of the opposite. I'm going, well, it's not even July yet. And we've got one in and we've pretty much got another one done and dusted. You know, I don't think it's been bad.
I don't think it's been bad, but I can't say that it's been great, because my problem is that you got Cunha over the line, fantastic. And Mbeumo seems to be getting over the line from what I've read, that it's just a matter of a couple tweaks here and there. But then after that, you don't really, it's like, where do you hear nothing else besides that. Like, you don't hear Gyökeres, or, I mean, are we going to have to wait for Arsenal to make their choice and then we get to pick up the pieces after that? Like, it's like after Mbeumo, like, who have we been going after? You haven't heard anything about a center back in Ignacio, or a midfielder, or a right back, or anybody else. It's just been like, oh, it's all Mbeumo all the time. You know, it's like, wait a minute, you got to have other things, and maybe they're doing a good job of keeping everything in house for once in their lives and not letting it get out. But right now, you just don't hear about it, and maybe that's because if you don't want people to, and it happens every year. As soon as United get linked to a player, everybody in the world gets linked to him, and it's like a bidding war at that point. So they're trying to keep everything in house as best as possible, so that way when they do come out, they can maybe go and snap them up. But like, I just don't like, and I get it. Like with Brentford,
can I ask a question here? Whose dog is trying to get into their kitchen?
Or mine. She's out there.
I can hear the scratching on the window.
Yeah. But otherwise, as soon as my wife gets home, she's gonna bark. But the problem is that, like, there she is again.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I just think that I have a problem with not knowing where we're gonna go after Mbeumo. Okay. And that's my issue at that point.
Well, I
can't say it's been great. I can say it's been good.
Well, let me ask you, Oshin, if we did end up if the transfer window closed and it was Cunha and Mbeumo and Gyökeres that we got, nobody else, would you be satisfied?
No. I don't think so. My issue, look, I mean, I'm split on the transfer window. I mean, since Ferguson retired, we've been notoriously slow, and we're notoriously bargain buying, or what's we're looking for, pressure buying the last week of the window, even down to the window, the closing day. So to have a player over the line before the season even finished, more or less, was great business to get it done. And it's looking like Mbeumo is going to be sorted, if this is to be believed, by next week. That's going to be great. But like Chris, I think there's other places we need to strengthen, and there's no talk of it. And there's people we need to get rid of, and there's no talk of that either. Outside of the Rashfords and the Sanchos, who are the high profile, there's other people that we need to kind of start moving on out the door as well. And there's no talk of them. The likes of your Dalots and your Shaws and these kind of people. Even Onana, I mean, or your Bayinders, there's no talks of any kind of deals for those, which is concerning me, I have to say, because I know that Amrin wants to work with a smaller squad this year, but if we can't start getting those players out the door, they're still going to be on our payroll. We're going to have a bloated squad, and we're going to have fellas training with the reserves on 250 grand a week, which we can't afford to do, because it means we can't go and get people in. That's my concern about the rest of the window.
Ben, some positivity before we end?
I'm not over concerned, to be honest with you, yet. I know we've got players that we want to get rid of and stuff like that, but that's down to other teams as well, isn't it? Other teams haven't sold the players that they want to sell that might want our players. So let the transfer window open, give it a week, see if anything goes through, and then we might be able to start shifting some players.
Yeah. It's not a bad way of looking at it. And I think maybe as well, once the Club World Cup ends, it might speed things up. I'm never massively concerned about offloading players, as long as it's done before the end of the window. You know what I mean? Now you are taking a gamble if you're talking about FFP and all of that, where right, you're going to take a chance on buying Gyökeres, on the off chance that you're going to get rid of one or two players to cover the cost of it. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of that will come down to then as well is, can we get these in installments? Like with the Cunha deal, it looks like Mbeumo is going to be in installments as well. So
the problem I have too, Jack, is that I don't love our preseason starts July 7th.
Yeah.
And let's just say we get Cunha and Mbeumo, and we didn't get a striker in for preseason, and that's what I don't love that fact. I mean, granted, there's still time, but
when do we go on tour? I think tour's the week later, isn't it?
I think the week after that.
Yeah,
because
so
I mean, they come into Carrington on the 7th, and then I think a week after that is when they go on tour. But my problem is that like we don't have anybody for that. Like we don't.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we're not a club that gets deals done fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the other issue is like all of a sudden now, whether it be Gyökeres or someone else or whatever forward you want to, whatever his name you want to put out there, put his name on it. He's going to come in after the tour probably. And not that that's a huge thing, but you would like him to have as much time as possible. Because those are as we've talked about, the top three are the biggest three things that we've needed.
Well, I think that's why we go all out for Gyökeres, because at least if we get Gyökeres and he doesn't make the tour or whatever the case may be, he's played for Ten Hag before. Not Ten Hag, Amram. He knows he said, Jesus Christ, don't bring me back there. He knows his system. He knows what to do. So, yeah. Anyway, look, they're questions for a later date and a later pod. But lads, as always, I appreciate you coming on. I've enjoyed it. I like the bit of needle there about Bruno Fernandes. Whether you're right or whether you're Oshin. I respect everyone's opinion. But lads, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll chat to you during the week. All right.
See you guys.
Really appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks everybody for watching and listening as well, guys. If you haven't already done so, please do smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. If you want to become an official channel member of the YouTube channel, the link is in the description below. All the guys that are on with us are all channel members, and it's part of the package. If you want to come on and give your opinions, join as a member, and you can come on the podcast with us like this as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow night for a transfer roundup. But until then, have a great evening. I'll chat to you tomorrow. Take it easy.